Hello, Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will understand about the autoimmune thyroid disease. So the thyroid is important gland used for the metabolism is important. So in this video, we will understand about the autoimmune thyroid disease, Hashimoto's disease, and Graves' disease. Hashimoto's disease is a thyroid disease to destroy, while the Graves' disease, the thyroid hyperplasia will be occur. In this way, the cell will be grow more and produce more thyroxine. Let's understand about the releasing mechanism of the thyroid gland. Here is the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. So the neurohypophysis and adenohypophysis. The hypothalamus will trigger through a thyroid releasing thyrotropic releasing hormone to target to the adenohypophysis to release the thyroid stimulating hormone from the anterior pituitary gland. In this way, it will go into the blood circulatory system, so it means the endocrine hormone. It will target to the thyroid gland, and when target to the thyroid follicle cells to produce the T4 and T3. T3 is very important for the triggering of the metabolism. But remember, when increase the T3 and T4 in the blood circulatory system will inhibit the for short term inhibition the negative feedback to inhibit the thyroid stimulating hormone, while the long term inhibition is negative feedback to the pituitary gland to inhibit and to inhibit the hypothalamus. Remember, not pituitary gland but hypothalamus. Anyhow, let's understand about the function little bit. This is the cell contain a mitochondria is the peripheral part of the cell, a lot of type of tissue. So this contain mitochondria. The T3 and T4 also trigger the mitochondria for replication of the mitochondria and the production of the UCP1 gene activation to produce UCP protein for rise in body temperature more. An effect of T3 and T4 release to target to the DNA will lead to increase the basal metabolic rate of body cells. For example, the normal metabolism like catabolism and anabolism is important for normal body metabolism. So first let's begin to understand the Hashimoto's thyroiditis. The Hashimoto's thyroiditis is basically the antibodies dependent. In this way, here is the dendritic cell will detect the antigen and go into the naive T cell in the lymphatic system and recruit through cytokines. But the T regulatory cell is responsible for the inhibition for this mechanism will not work efficiently because the DNA mutation. In this way, the naive T cell will proliferate after the recognition of the thyroid cell, thyrocyte antigen, autoantigen, will proliferate into the CD8 and CD4. CD8 will cytotoxic T cell, apoptosis of the thyrocyte due to the production of granzyme and perforin. While it will lead to apoptosis, while the CD4 is important for the recognition of the antigen via a direct contact with the cell or indirect through dendritic cell, will lead to B cell activation through a B cell receptor via a CD4 molecule and the MSC class molecule. Will proliferate into the plasma cell, produce a lot of antibodies, will target to the thyrocyte to collapse. Will thyrocyte collapse will lead to opsonization to activate the complement system. That complement system activation will lead to cell death. It is known as apoptosis for scientific term. And after this, the death of the thyrocyte will lead to hypothyroidism. It means the ATP will decrease, metabolism decrease, and heat will be decreased. And in this way, the cold, sensitive, abnormal growth and obesity as well as diabetes can be possible. And this is the antibody dependent apoptotic Hashimoto's thyroiditis. While the Graves disease is also occur, the autoimmune thyroid disease. In this way, the CD4 help to the B cell activation, and the basically the thyroid stimulating hormone reactive B cell, which that will lead to active more thyroid stimulating hormone receptor. In this way, also produce the plasma cell to produce a lot of antibodies, but also it will be target to the thyroid stimulating hormone receptor and the thyroid stimulation inhibition, while it will lead to increase the thyroid stimulating hormone receptor will lead to survive the cell. In this way, the number of the cell will increase, means the T3 and T4 will be increased, and the negative or positive feedback problem can be occur. And in this way, the uncontrolled production of the T3 and T4 will lead to hyperthyroidism will occur. In this way, in the blood, the T3 and T4 will rise. When T3 and T4 will rise, will target to the different tissue, will lead to hyperthyroidism. In this way, the speed of metabolism, weight loss, hand tremors, a rapid irregular heartbeat, and arrhythmias. Let's understand about the symptoms of the hypothyroidism. We will not understand about the hyper, but in this way, we will understand about the symptom of the hypothyroidism. Will lead to fatigue and sluggishness, increased sensitivity to cold, increased sleepiness, hair loss, dry skin, constipation, and muscle weakness. Also, aches, tender, joint pain, stiffness, depression, thyroid swelling, and puffy face. Let's understand about the causes of the autoimmune thyroid disease, especially the Hashimoto's thyroiditis. In this way, the hypothyroidism will lead to due to the genetic factor, also the hyperthyroidism. Epigenetic factor, the environment is involved, such as infection, stress, and radiation exposure, as well as interaction between environment and genetics, will lead to cause autoimmune thyroid disease. The risk factor we will discuss now. The sex is involved, especially women. Age also is the risk factor. For example, the middle age. Other autoimmune disorder like Graves' disease, lupus erythematosus, or other type of disease. Genetic and family history and the pregnancy, iodine intake, and radiation exposure. The complication we will discuss now. The complication can be due to the hypothyroidism will lead to goiter, heart problems, mental health illness, sexual and reproductive issues, and the sexual and reproductive issue and poor pregnancy, which that is the complication. So I hope you make sense about that. In this video we have discussed about the autoimmune thyroid disease, which that contain Hashimoto's disease, which that is thyroid disease to destroy, while the Graves disease is the thyroid hyperplasia, mean the increase of the cell due to the thyroid stimulating hormone receptor collapse and will lead to increase the receptor.